This happened when I was 23. I had just gotten home after a long night shift stocking shelves at the grocery store. I worked the closing shift, so it was a little after midnight when I got back to my apartment. I shared the place with my roommate. It wasn't much, a cheap apartment in a not-so-great neighborhood, but it beat living in my parents' basement. I tossed my jacket on the coat rack by the door and headed into the kitchen, starving. I pulled out a frozen pizza and was about to throw it in the microwave when something caught my eye. My bedroom door. It was open. Just slightly. That might not sound weird, but I always shut my bedroom door before leaving for work. It's a habit, I like my privacy. The moment I saw it, something just didn't feel right. I stood at the edge of the hallway and called out. Hello? Silence. I reached over and flipped the hallway light on. Are you home? I call out for my roommate. He was kind of a weird guy, so I thought maybe he came home early and was messing with me. I even pictured him hiding in my closet, waiting to jump out like an idiot. I slowly walked to the door and nudged it open with my foot. The hallway light spilled into the room. Empty. Nothing out of place. My bed. My nightstand. Same as I left it. I stood there a second, just listening, nothing. I closed the door and went back to the kitchen. I put the pizza in the microwave, hit start, and turned on the TV in the living room to unwind. Then I heard it. A soft thump from my roommate's bedroom. At first, I brushed it off, maybe it was my roommate. But then it happened again. Heavier this time. Definitely inside the apartment. I called out again, trying to sound casual. And then, as the microwave beeped, nearly giving me a heart attack, I heard a muffled voice from the hallway. Yeah, sorry, dropped something. Relief. I actually smiled. My roommate was home. Probably just being weird as usual. I turned to grab my food. Buzz. My phone vibrated in my pocket. It was a text. From my roommate. Hey, running late at work. Can you leave the door unlocked for me? My stomach dropped. I texted back instantly. Wait, you're not home? He replied seconds later. Still at work. Why? I didn't even have time to process it when I heard another sound from the hall. I looked up. There was someone standing there. A tall man. In the shadows. He didn't move fast. Just slowly stepped forward. Heavy boots echoing on the wood floor. I ran. Didn't look back. Flew out the front door and sprinted down the emergency stairs. I ran straight into the parking lot and called 911. The police arrived within minutes. They searched the apartment thoroughly, found no one. But they did find something. On the kitchen table. A small folded piece of paper. Written in scratched handwriting. Soon. That was it for me. That same night, after the police left, I called my roommate and told him what happened. The next morning, we packed our stuff, broke the lease, and moved out. We didn't even take everything. We just left. We found a small single-story house a few blocks away and never looked back. To this day, I have no idea who that man was, or how long he had been stalking us. But I've double-checked every lock since. I was 19 at that time. My parents had gone out of town for a business meeting and wouldn't be back until the next evening. We lived in a quiet, safe neighborhood in a two-story house. With nothing to do and silence stretching through the house, I started getting bored. It was a chilling Saturday evening. To kill the loneliness, I called up my friends Mark and Annie to come over for a sleepover. We ordered food and spent the evening watching movies, scrolling through memes, and playing games on the console. It was around 11 p.m. when we finally decided to call it a night. Mark and Annie took the guest room, which was just across the hallway from mine on the second floor. I left the hallway light on, I don't know why, but I always had a habit of doing that when I was alone. As I lay in bed, I heard something strange. A faint scratching noise, like someone dragging metal against wood. I paused, sat up slightly, and listened. The sound was coming from the side of the house, my side. I told myself it could be a tree branch or maybe even a raccoon. I brushed it off and tried to sleep. About 30 minutes later, I heard something again, only this time it was louder. Sharp, distinct taps, like someone was throwing small rocks at my window. My heart started pounding. I froze in my bed, listening carefully. One rock, then another, then three in quick succession. I didn't want to look. I really didn't. But some twisted mix of fear and curiosity made me slowly tiptoe toward the window. I moved the curtain just enough to peek outside. And there he was. A man. Standing in the yard. Still. Wearing all black. And a mask. He didn't move. He didn't say a word. He just stood there, staring directly at my window. Like he knew I was watching. My throat tightened. I backed away from the window and ran across the hall, flinging open the guest room door. I shook them both. Mark groaned. "Dude, what's wrong?" "There's someone outside," I said, barely able to form the words in the yard. They both jumped up. We went back to my room, and I cautiously opened the curtain again. He was still there. Standing. Unmoving. But now, he was closer to the house. Mark picked up his phone and called the cops right away. By the time the police arrived, about 10 minutes later, the man was gone. They searched the yard and checked the side of the house. They found footprints in the soft patch of grass under my room. The trail ended near the side gate. They didn't find anyone. The cops said it might have been a prank. Maybe some teen from the neighborhood. But no one had any issues, and who would do something like that in such a peaceful place? After they left, the three of us sat in the living room, too shaken to go back to sleep. Every creak in the house made us jump. We stayed up, and eventually, as the sky began to lighten, the fear slowly faded. The man never came back. But I kept wondering, why my house? Why that night? Couple days later, I remembered something. My dad had an argument with our neighbor, kind of reclusive guy, but he didn't take it well. Could it have been him? Was he trying to scare us? I'll never know. But to this day, whenever I hear a strange sound outside my window at night, I still hesitate before pulling the curtain. Because what if he's standing there again? Waiting. This happened to me when I was 11 years old. I live in a quiet, rural town in Oregon, one of those places where everyone knows each other, and nothing bad ever seems to happen. Our house is surrounded by woods, and the closest neighbor is a good 10-minute walk away. Peaceful, sure, but also pretty isolating. It was a Friday night. My parents had gone to visit my grandmother, who was recovering from surgery. I begged them to let me stay behind since I want to play games and honestly just wanted some quiet time. By 6 p.m., the rain had started. Heavy, cold, and loud against the windows. I remember watching it pour while sitting on the couch, wrapped in a blanket. I got hungry, so I ordered a pizza from the small shop in town. About 40 minutes later, the pizza guy arrived. He was in his late 20s, wearing a cap pulled low and a soaked hoodie. He handed me the pizza and smiled, but then paused. "Are you home alone?" he asked casually. Something about the way he said it didn't sit right with me. I gave a polite smile and said, "No, my parents are just running a little late. They'll be back any minute." He nodded, too slowly, then turned and walked back to his car. I closed and locked the door behind him. I even double-checked the windows. But about 20 minutes later, I heard a knock at the front door. Not a loud knock. Just slow, deliberate tapping. I peeked through the curtain. LT was a man in a gray hoodie I didn't recognize, standing half in the shadows. He didn't look like he was from the neighborhood. He called out, "Hey, my car broke down. Can I use your phone?" I froze. I didn't respond. He knocked again. "Hello? I just need to make a quick call." I still said nothing. Just backed away from the door quietly. The knocking continued, and then stopped. I let out a breath. But then I heard something that made my blood run cold. The doorknob on the back door, jiggling. They were trying to get in. I ran to the back just in time to see someone, maybe the same guy, maybe another, twisting the knob and pushing the door. I panicked and ran upstairs to my room, locking the door behind me. I didn't have a cell phone back then. The only phone was in the kitchen, downstairs. There was no way I was getting to it. So I did the only thing I could do. I hid in the closet. I crouched there in the dark, heart pounding, barely breathing. A few minutes later, I heard footsteps. They were inside the house. Heavy, slow footsteps, coming up the stairs. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't even breathe. The steps got closer, and then stopped. Right in front of my bedroom door. I thought they'd break it down. But they didn't. Silence. Then, more footsteps. Fainter this time. Going away. I stayed hidden. 4 hours. It felt like forever. It wasn't until around 11 p.m. that I heard a car pull into the driveway, my parents. They came inside, calling my name, panicked when they couldn't find me. I finally came out of the closet, crying, telling them everything. My dad immediately called 911. The cops came within minutes. They entered through the back, since it had been left open. They searched the house. And that's when they found him. In the attic. It was the same pizza guy. He had come back, somehow slipped in, and hid up there the whole time, waiting for God knows what. He was arrested on the spot. I still live in that house. But after that night, I never stayed home alone again.